And the genesis of this film, in a very strange and unexpected way, may have come from a question that we asked you right here on Squawk Box.
Yes, that's true. That's true, because I came on here to talk about taxing the wealthy, and you just threw this little hand grenade at me, which was a question about...
What was the hand grenade?
It was, what do you think about Bob Iger's compensation? Our CEO's paid too much. That's what you asked me.
Yeah.
And I felt like, oh, wait, I haven't thought this through. Should I actually say what I think here on live television? I'm not sure. I haven't run this through my strategic brain yet. But I went ahead. My policy is just to tell the truth. So I went ahead and said what I thought, which was Jesus Christ himself isn't worth that much money. And it went a little crazy online.
Went a little viral, if I remember. Yeah.
And because it went a little viral, I put out this Twitter thread. So a year before you asked me that question, I had been to Anaheim for the first time to visit the workers and to hear directly from them about what was happening for them in the park. And I thought there was something I have to do. I mean, I can't walk away from this and pretend that this has nothing to do with me. But I was just paralyzed. And when you asked me that question, and I clearly struck a nerve, it seemed like it was possible to talk about the wages at the bottom and the wages at the top as though they were a single issue, because they are. And when I started to yoke those things, that's when things went crazy.
How much of this film is about Disney specifically, and how much of it is a microcosm or representation of what you think is happening in the economy writ large?
Well, you basically just named the whole point of the film, because, like, who needs just a film about one company? This is the story of American corporate culture and how it's changed very radically over the last 50 years. More radically, I think, than any of us really appreciates. I lived through it. I watched it change. And I watched it through the people I knew, which were my grandfather, and the people that we would encounter when we would go to the park, and then through my own encounters with the workers there 50 years later. So it seemed important because Disney really is synecdoche for America. Everything about it is a reflection of American history.
And I'm very sympathetic, obviously, I'm sympathetic to workers and sympathetic to executives on all sides of this.
Yeah.
And there is cross currents of pressure.
Yes.
And I was going to say, even in the past couple of weeks, you've seen Dan Loeb, the activist investor, at one point attacking those now, I think, moved aside temporarily, at least, around Disney, because there's pressure from investors on one side saying you're not doing enough, both on costs or just revenue opportunities. And on the other side, there's you. And so the question is, if you're leading a company like Disney today, who you're supposed to listen to? And do you give credit at all to the growth of Disney? Meaning, there's something fabulous about what Disney has done over the years and employs 200,000 some odd people. And so how do you think about that versus, and I don't know how, what you think of the wage issue and how large an issue it is or how small an issue it is specifically at Disney?
Well, the growth is extraordinary, and goodness knows, as a shareholder, I'm delighted by it. I'm grateful. But I think there's just been an overemphasis on shareholders and an overemphasis on management. I may get the number wrong, but I think it was something in the region of $8 billion in share buybacks in the years leading into the pandemic. Well, first of all, did the shareholders need all $8 billion in that, or did some of it belong to the people who produce those profits through the sweat of their daily work? That's one question. So can we really say that paying workers better comes at the expense of shareholders, or does it come at the expense of shareholders not necessarily getting all that much growth? So what is the proper division of these things is a really important basic question.
Let me ask you another one, which I think is actually very hard to grapple with, which is the market. One of the things that most companies do is they pay what the market allows for, It's very rare where somebody in the hiring position sits around and says, can I pay you more? Can I pay you a premium above market? And so how much of this is about the price tag that Disney pays versus the price tag that people are paying, for better or worse, in Orlando, for example.
The problem with relying on the market too heavily for figuring out what you should be paying people is the market is in a state of near collusion around the idea of what you pay hourly workers. I mean, it is everything short of collusion in the sense that if I go to McDonald's, if I go to Wendy's, if I go to Amazon, if I go to a lot of places, I'm going to get something in the same range.
But isn't that because that's the market?
What the market decided.
Right.
But the market has also decided that there has to be these huge rewards for shareholders, huge rewards for management. There's so much cash floating around in American businesses today.
Right.
They're so profitable, and we're not using that cash to reward workers. Why should they live at the very bottom of what is tolerable or acceptable in the public eye? I just don't understand. I know and I get it about cost, but labor isn't a cost. These are human beings that work as your partners in creating those profits. And if they're your partners, how are they different from management, and why are we not thinking differently about keeping them with you and retaining them and giving them livelihoods?